start. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the second session of AI for Faculty workshop series that we're doing from MLL Lab. Today we will talk about the chatbot, how we can use chatbot to agent, and why agent is probably a better way to use AI, and how to build it. We will focus on the technology that we have available with which is Copilot. And we'll try to talk about different possibilities and together with your help, with your questions and remarks and suggestions, maybe also to have different ideas for agents and how we can create it. Okay, so, and by the way, I also want to make also the first time we will see Meili. Meili will be our modern artificial intelligence for language learning innovation agent. So part of the process will also be to present it and maybe also to engage with it a little bit. That will be the chatbot of the lab. And so the first question is, why agent? Or how do we understand agent within the world of chatbots of artificial intelligence? The way I see an agent is just like, it's because a lot of the comments also that I received in the last 2 years, I'm sure many of you also received them or even thought them for some time, and that is, hey, I was trying this, I was writing this prompt in chatbot in ChatGPT or in Gemini, and it didn't give me the right answer. And that is the issue. We usually think of this artificial intelligence tools, a generative artificial intelligence tool, as a one-size-fits-all, meaning it's a robot, and since it's a robot, it must be an all-knowing generalist. And that is a common mistake, because if we think about it this way, we imagine it to understand everything we want from it and to interact with us in the best possible way. And of course, just like we were not going to go to the supermarket to buy a good shoes, and we're not going to go to the doctor and ask, hey, doctor, hey, my pediatrician, please, you had my kid, now can you fix my laptop? We're probably, hopefully, not going to do that. And similarly, I'm not going to perform any kind of surgery today, tomorrow, or the other day. Why? Because I know I'm not going to be good at that. That's not my specialty. So that's exactly how we want to think about this improvement of approaching a ChatGPT or any kind of LLM and AI tool, meaning not as a universal expert ready to do anything, anytime, anywhere to anyone, but actually as a tool that is very general, and it's our job to make it more available to our needs and to program it that way. And when I say programming, I'm not saying like coding, something very light as we can see today. So with this insight in mind, we also have to remember how to use it in the class. Meaning, we cannot expect to come to our classroom and tell our students, okay, students, open your computer, open your LLM, Gemini, Claude, whatever, Mistral, ChatGPT, and ask it to do ABC. Now, if we will do that with the students, most likely a lot of them, actually that's my experience in the last 2.5 years working with generative AI in the classroom, is that simply they get the responses, the outcomes are so wide and varied. So in the end, we leave them more confused than before, especially if we give them orally. But even if we have on Blackboard, if we give them the prompt itself and tell them, put this prompt in the chatbot. A lot of them, because they have different usage of their chatbot, different memories, different usage, they might get different answers. And that will get us far away from the objective of the exercise. What we want to do is to create an agent that is specialized to our course, bring it to the course, and then use it. And I have to admit, from a lot different courses that I was doing with AI, the outcomes are excellent and the students really enjoy it. So if we're talking, for example, just to throw away some examples before, as we talk about it, to a literature or language and literature, for example, 202, 203, or the 300 level, creating, for example, a chatbot that is specialized with the literature we give them, bringing those literature, for example, Gabriel Garcia Marquez in Spanish, and then telling them, okay, now you interact with this chatbot, with this agent, as Gabriel Garcia Marquez talking to it. It does a great job in actually communicating with the students the way we want them to do. All right, so this is the basic notion of the agent, meaning like what kind of advantages we can see. We can think about it as the difference between chatbots and agents. So an agent, I mean, like, let's say it like this. An agent can be any kind of chatbot, but a chatbot cannot be an agent, okay? So if we think about the differences, we can say that the chatbot is reactive. So they're waiting for you to ask something, but an agent is proactive. Why? Because it already has some sort of prompting, some sort of a DNA, like some people in the kind of like the AI world like to think about it when they do this kind of analogy to the human body. So like a DNA of the agent that we program, and then it can interact better according to what we say. Remembers, it has knowledge, it can interact with the knowledge. The knowledge, as we can see, it will be either documents that we upload from the courses or websites that we have already presented. So today we will see different things, different agent, how to create agent. Maybe we can even have the time to do it together. Let's see part by part. So I want you also, together with this distinction between agent and chatbots, there's an agent chatbot, and then there's an agent workflow. Now, the AI world is getting closer and closer to give this possibility free of charge to everybody. But for now, it's not as such, meaning like, for example, OpenAI just came out recently telling that they're giving the workflow agents. So we will be able in the future to build something like that. But for now, it's not available yet. It's just available for the pros, the ones that are paying like $200 per month. But for the free users, not yet. Even though that they said, but in the still in 2025, they will have this possibility. Everybody will have the possibility to create a workflow. Now, what does that mean? So if we have, for example, SDK, we ask, okay, Coursera, find me a course that is related to my work in UM. And then automatically, OpenAI ChatGPT will enter Coursera, find you a list of courses, and something that you can use or help or send to whoever needs to. In Canvas, so for example, Coursera, prepare for me a flyer about the events that I'm going to do next month, about, I don't know, cinema in Chile. And then automatically, it will get to Canva, it will interact with your username over there, create the flyer, give you a few possibilities, and you'll be able to do everything automatically, unlike we do now, which is very time-consuming, a little work. So this is a workflow. We're not going to talk about it now. This is for the future. Hopefully, in the beginning of 2026, maybe in the beginning of spring 2026, we'll be able to already show it. I want to focus in our talk, in our sessions, only on free tools. So, getting into the agents, as we were saying, what are agents? So if we're having the LLMs, the core idea is that they have brain. We try to link to connect to them tools if we have workflow, and if not, we just create a system prompt some sort of a rule book in order to create constraints over the agents. So it's not going to be generalized, just like any kind of chatbot, but something specific to our needs. So if we take the analogy of the human nervous system, we can think about the brain processing ideas, the tools, like the hands that are acting, and the brain stems connect in between them, connect between those thoughts and ideas into action. And an agent, when we think about it, so we have to define it. So we define the purpose. So right now we can already start thinking about, okay, what type of agent do I need? If I'm writing grants, if I'm a grad student or even a researcher, and I want to write the grant, so I need a grant writer, an agent that will be specialized in writing grants. If I'm doing language, so a language 102, so I want to be the agent to be an expert in foreign language acquisition. So I ask it, that's the definition. You are an expert of foreign language acquisition. And instead of all the time getting into chatbot, the general chatbot, and just ask it again and again and again, we create an agent, and that's constantly there for us. Then we're shaping it. So we think about the system prompt. So what kind of tone, what kind of style, what kind of knowledge, all of that we have to, of course, think ahead of time in order to build the best tool we can. Then we have optional tools. So for example, if it does a file search, if it has APIs, if it can use APIs. And then we think about the memory. Are we talking about long-term recall or tracking, contextualizing tracks over time, etc.? So we have to think about how to define the identity of the agent. So we talked about, kind of like I mentioned already, the idea of agents and not just chatbots. So what are the advantages, what it means to have a general. So we can skip, actually maybe just a specialized agent in that part, maybe to remind that it has some sort of, the conversation about privacy and ethics, our constant conversation in AI. So having an agent, you can define what are your ethics and guardrails that you want to have. For example, you can say, no matter if the students put in the agent any kind of private information, never remember them. So you can define it and all the time ask to not have any kind of private information with the chatbot in the classroom. And if they do, remind them please not to. So you can have the agent do that for you instead of constant have the conversation of how to go about it. All right, a little bit of metrics. So we know that if from the accuracy, obviously, if we create an agent, then it will be much more accurate in the responses that it gives. Time saving, well, that is amazing because if you remember last time in the last session, when we talked about prompts in ChatGPT 5, if there's one good advice that can be given in this context, that is, please remember that if you start a chat and it doesn't go your way, don't insist. Don't fight with the chatbot telling it, no, it's not what I want. What I wanted is ABC. No, it's much better to, just like any kind of a dance move, to simply tell it, okay, you know what? We went wrong path. Erase that chat and start a new one. And usually that is much better than actually, because it has its own memory and it will keep going back to the mistakes. And that's part of the problem with the usage of AI. And then we have, of course, in agents, 85% of user satisfaction. So that is, we see it as a very reliable tool when it comes to that. So what is the anatomy? We have the system prompt, we have the context and knowledge. As I was saying, context and knowledge can be your own documents, and it can be web pages, and it can be just prompting. So that's the context, that's the knowledge that we give them. Integrated tools, that's in the workflow. We can see that hopefully when it will be free next semester. Already, actually, I'm talking about free in OpenAI, but it already is free in Zapier. So if I can show you a little bit later when we get to the practice, is Zapier already have the possibility to connect Gmail, to connect a calendar, to connect like spreadsheets, etc., and to create this workflow. There's too many bugs when we want to use it well. That's why I would not recommend going there unless you already quite adapt and versed into creation of agents. And we're talking about the clear constraints, so to explicit boundaries of how to use it in a good way. So let's build an agent. If we see now, wait just a second. So which one is it? Here we go. So here we have, for example, okay, you can see my screen, right? So there's a difference between, in GPTs, for example, in ChatGPT, if you have the paid version, then you can create GPTs. GPTs are just any kind of, for example, you can explore. Okay, two things. If you have a free version as well, you can just enter GPTs of OpenAI and write here whatever you want. For example, if you're looking for an agent that will be Spanish language learning expert, everybody with a free account can access that. Can access GPTs that are already existing, not to create one, but access those that are existing. And then, for example, AP Spanish language exam guide. So you can access that, and that's somebody else with an account that created this GPT, which works like an agent and is more specialized for AP Spanish language exam guide. Okay, so that everybody can use that. If you have a paid account for the Plus, then you can create a GPT. That's what I usually do for the classroom. But now, I did that until now because ChatGPT, of course, was much better than many other LLMs. But now we are happy to see that Copilot, the one that we all have access to it from University of Miami, is doing quite a great job with being available and good enough for everybody. And here we have the possibility to each one of us, we have the possibility to create an agent. So as an example, I created just the other day Meili. So Meili is the chatbot of the lab, the new chatbot of the lab. So what does it do? It helps, for example, if you have tutoring. Now, there's a slight problem here because we don't have the information updated on the website, and this takes the information from the website. So the minute we will have all the information updated in our MLL Lab website, everything here will be easy to do. Right now, if I ask it, is there a tutor for French this week? It will tell me, I'm not sure, there's no information there. Because it goes to the website where we have MLL Lab, and it tells us that there's TBA, to be announced, okay? But we're working on it. Now we're going to get access to change all of the information on the lab, and we'll be able to do all of those little adjustments. But already, if you want to have, for example, let's start a new talk. If you want to have like an AI helper or AI language support, that it can help you. For example, help me set up a prompt for a Spanish storytelling project. And then it will focus as University of Miami, as helper for faculty, and it will automatically, instead of just write a big prompt and then seeing I'm University of Miami professor and I'm teaching Spanish and all of that in a regular chatbot, this is already an agent, so he knows who we are and why, and automatically it will just go there. So it will help you write down a prompt for project of narration in Spanish. Right? So how do we build it? So if you have your computer in front of you, feel free to just go to Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. You put your credential, and it normally tells you, is it personal or work? And if it's work, then you will see your work email over there. And normally you will be able quite fast to get to this page here that you see, that M365 Copilot, search chat, where you can interact with it. Generally speaking, there's a lot of different things that you can look around here. For example, for researcher, so it gives you already, this is like an agent researcher that they built, Microsoft built. And you have here like project update, customer brief. It connects to your email, to your Outlook, and to your OneDrive. So you can, as we talked about a little bit about it the last session, but in general, you can interact with it. For example, asking it, oh, look, searching my mails. I just did it the other day. I didn't find some sort of an email about what was it about? I think about like a deadline. And I said, like, searching my mail about this deadline. And to be honest, I looked personally before that and I couldn't find it for like 5 minutes. And then with Copilot, it just took it 2 seconds and it found that mail. So that was very, very useful. And it's in the beginning, it was a little bit not as good, but I have to admit, now it's just getting better and better and better. And I really recommend to use it. Saves a lot of time. You have a lot of analysts, etc. And then you have, like, for example, this is available for everybody. Anybody can now go in, and if you want, I can share as well the link here on the chat. Anyone in the organization, yes, this is the link. And it's in the chat. Now everybody can go in and then go to ask question about the lab related issues. So now, of course, which, as you know, we start to create XR experiences. Just the other week, we had one about the Law Museum. We start to create a lot of different things for the different languages. So please, if you have any good idea, then don't forget to come to see us, and hopefully we'll manage to make it happen as soon as possible for your classes. Back to the agent. Very easy. Create agent. Now we see describe and configure. Describe, this is you in natural language. You just create what kind of agent you want. So you can create like, oh, I'm a French 101 French language professor, 101 to 202, and I all the time look for innovative lesson plans. So you will be an expert in AI, in giving me ideas for lesson plans and how to implement them in the classroom. So this is just in normal language, natural language writing, and then it will automatically send that information to configure. Now in configure, this is where we actually do apply everything that I was mentioning before, creating the DNA, right? So we have the name of the agent, of course. What is the short description? Short description, up to 1,000 characters. Instruction, how we describe it, how do we define it? We define the tone, we define the style, we define the guidelines and the guardrails and the guidelines that it must follow. And then we get to the knowledge. Now, in the knowledge, we can either upload from device. So for example, if I have a document, for, let's say in my courses about heritage and AI. So I have a document that is an article from a professor in, University of Boston. Then I can just upload that document and that will be there for the students. And with the GPTs, I do the same thing, but now little by little, I'm going to transfer from ChatGPT to Copilot. But in GPT, for example, I have different GPTs for, like, for example, for the internship course. So this is one for the internship course. So I can have, let's copy that for later. So I can have for the students, I can tell them, hey, suggest a lesson plan for me, suggest a lesson plan for next week. according to the syllabus. So it will automatically suggest one, something to do with the students. That can be one thing. Searching my knowledge, that's because it has the knowledge, it has the documents of what the student needs to read, so he knows quite well. Or I can ask it, for example, the internship course. I can ask it, how can I make the seminar more engaging? If I have, if I have one that I know that the students they like it, but they're not 100% engaged, let's brainstorm the material, and all the materials are here. Which uploaded materials connect to this lecture, and give real. Now this is one that I really need. I've actually used it quite a lot. The idea how to connect the material to real life, the readings with real life examples, and it gives. Now, of course, I don't have over there in the knowledge of my students. I don't have who the students are, what they do, etc. But what I do have is general examples. So here, a greeting ritual across culture. Okay, so that works. That's because next week it's going to be the material of emotional intelligence in between cultures. So this kind of like introduction, the differences between the EQ, emotional intelligence, and the CQ, the cultural intelligence. And then it gives all kind of examples. In Japan, people bow instead of shaking hands. In France, cheeks kisses are common, etc. So it gives all different kind of examples. Emotional intelligence in workplace. So as a US manager in South Korea, gives public praise to an employee, expecting motivation, but the employee feel embarrassed because public praise may imply favorism in Korean workplace, unlike in other places. So it gives all kind of good examples. The students enjoy it, they can relate to it. And of course, it's very helpful, very beneficial to add to the reading. So that's an agent that already have all the material. I don't have to program it. I don't have to come and rebuild all the information. It's already there. So that is the knowledge. That's probably the most important part. Let me give you also an example with the XR. So in the avatar that I have on my exhibition in Richter Library, the avatar cannot have real knowledge, just the prompting, just the tone and the prompting of what style and what tone, but not actual knowledge. So when you ask the Maimonides avatar, hey, can you explain to me about, I don't know, the concept of, the halachic concept of fasting in religions and in all religions. So it will tell you something very general. But if you go to the chatbot that I have for the class, where I prepared an agent with the knowledge, the responses that it gives are just amazing. And that's one of the things that the students love the most, because they can interact with it on their level. They can ask a question, also contemporary question, on this very knowledgeable 12th century philosopher, and have it interact with, like, connecting the writing that this philosopher did in the 12th century with today's mindset. And they love it. We go not one by one because we don't have a lot of time, but we choose like the most interesting ones. And I have to admit, this is the part where everybody just feels so illuminated. So that is something that's very nice to apply, the knowledge part. Then with the knowledge, you can prioritize. That's something that they don't have in GPT, but they do have in Copilot. You can prioritize the knowledge source. So if you just click this button here, what it does is first goes to the knowledge and then goes to the web for the queries. The capability, so you have the code interpreter or the image generator. If you don't want to for them to create any images, then you just leave it off. If you need for the courses, for example, to interact, like for example, for the language class, I let them do a little comics. So they create like a little comics, and then they create the images, and then they have to explain. So I let them, of course, generate images, and then they create it. From there, we go to Whisk. In Whisk, the images becomes a movie, and then they have a movie that they created, and they explain about it. They talk about it. And of course, also generate the conversation. So that's something that is, for that, we have to have the image generator here. And suggested prompt. As we saw before, Sometimes it's just easier. If you get to a new agent, you don't know what the capabilities of that new agent. It's very good, especially for the students that you know how they are. Many times it's like, oh, I'm confused. So it's very good to have some sort of an anchor, and those questions are great as an anchor. You enter a title, enter what is the question, what is the message, and you can arrange them by order, and those questions will appear. So when we get to, for example, something like this, to the mail itself, those questions will appear here, just underneath the message Copilot. And you can have as many as you want. The question, the title, and the question. All right, so far, are you managing also to create your own agent? And if you have any questions while creating it, please let me know. Or if you have any question at all, now we can do a good time for that solving problems. No questions? Do you manage to, if you try, do you manage to create your own agent? So part of the idea also, we were talking about it as well last time, part of the idea is that we will be able to create agents in the lab, meaning that you will give us the knowledge and style, tone, definition, the DNA of what you want to create for your class, and we'll be able to create an agent. As you can see, it doesn't require a lot of time, meaning that if you have everything ready, of course you can connect to it. But if you have everything ready and you can go to the description and ask it, for example, oh, yeah, that's something else. Create a presentation about the modern, yeah, that's something that can also be done a little bit later. So if you have like an idea for an agent, you can already start describing it. It will go, and then of course, as we were saying, how we create history, how the way students will be able to interact with it in a good way and not very confusing. And then that you can also, by the way, in order to avoid the whole page of the configuration, you can just also drag and drop the information, the knowledge here, the PDFs, the Word document, and any kind of knowledge base that you need. For the website, it's a little bit different. You can just kind of copy paste the URL here, and that will create a list of URLs that you need. If we go, for example, to the Mallees, so we see, in order to see, for example, how that will be. So here, for example, so it's the name, the description, we're talking about the Mallee, the language learning innovation. This is the description. What is this chatbot? So that's AI-powered guide for the Department of Modern Languages and Literature at the University of Miami. That means it's already limiting itself to University of Miami and to our department. We provide information for program, language courses, tutorial services, AI and VR technology from the lab. And of course, the most important thing is, where does it go to look for information? So first, we want to prioritize the source, and that is the web. And here, there's the links to the lab hours, to the index, to the explanation what the lab is, to the tutoring hours, and that's part of the problem because we don't have it yet we don't have it updated in the website.
It's actually up already. I updated around 10 o'clock. So I think it hasn't synced in yet with the agent.
Oh, okay, great. So probably it will be like, take it a few, let's probably be a day or two, and that will be all with tutoring, and then with the index, so it interacts with all of the references that we have that are on the web at the moment. Image generator, we want to create it to have images possible, yeah, and suggesting prompt. So for example, if it's something related to XR technology, so we want to ask what's the process for doing that. To AI language support, can you give me ideas for that prompting? If you please help me prompt a lesson plan, or please help me prompt an exercise about certain, and with actually prompting something else in order to have the best possible instruction and description, you can use ChatGPT to help you prompt the instruction for the agent. So that's pretty much going to ChatGPT or any kind of LLM. So for example, it will be like going to a chat, asking it, please, I want to create an agent for my course in, let's say, I don't know, Japanese 201. And please, well, some say don't write please because it just creates more work for that is not necessary. So just help me create the name, description, and instructions for it. And then have it. Now you can use it. You can do it directly in the description in the agent, or you can do it in here. It depends. I personally prefer sometimes I think it's better to separate things, as we were saying about the agent. So this is more general. So it will be as a reference to like as a more general reference. But if we do it in an agent, it might actually work. It depends. You can try both and see which one works best. So here, the instruction, for example, those are the instruction for students. So the instruction is review grammar, practice vocabulary, check assignments. Of course, it's also the idea is to upload the syllabus so they will know which part will be when. And my students, for example, sometimes they send an email, oh, when is the final presentation due? Or when is that due? Well, first of all, you have the syllabus in Blackboard. But okay, even if you don't go to the syllabus in Blackboard, you still have an agent that is connected to Blackboard. For example, in my courses, I have an agent in the side menu of Blackboard, and that they can just click and go to the GPT or the Copilot agent and just ask it whatever it wants. All right, questions, any kind of remarks or thoughts?
Chai, maybe, can you hear me, Chai?
Yes.
Maybe this is a silly question, I don't know. But I just want to know if you can create like a live person as an agent to practice orally with the students, like the VIP, if they want to practice their conversation.
That's actually an excellent question. And it's one that I've been trying in my classes for the past, because that's in Hebrew, we don't have a VIP. So, well, first I want to say a few things, because it gives me the possibility to talk about what we're trying also to bring into the lab, and that is the experiences in VR. So soon all languages in MLL will be able, except Hebrew, will be able to just come to the lab and take a headset and have an experience conversation in a different situation. So that's in VR. And here as an agent, yes, you can definitely create an agent that is specialized for example, you can ask it, you can just tell it, the agent, you are a Spanish person from, and then you have to limit from where, because you wanted to talk with a certain language, for example, if it would be Argentinian, if it would be Spanish, if it would be Spanish from Andalusia, if it would be Mexican, if it would be, so where that person will be from. And you can tell it, students will interact with you. So if it's a student, ask the student, for example, ask the students, when you start the conversation, ask the student what level they have. And according to the level, talk to them in that specific level. So if the students say, I'm Spanish 101, keep the level plain and simple on a 101 level, beginner level, and the agent will do so. And if you want, you can do something else. Add the part of the book, because I'm not sure about copyright, but you can add the part of the book from Conectados as a knowledge, and then to be like, keep that conversation according to chapter 5 in the book. So, and that will have the student only talking about that specific part of the book. Like, for example, a chapter 5 vocabulary here. So practice vocabulary. Quiz me on vocabulary from chapter 4. You can do the same thing. Talk to me orally as a chapter 4. Now, there is a problem here, the differences between ChatGPT and Copilot. Copilot, as far as I know, you can dictate information, but you cannot chat with it. In ChatGPT, you can chat with it. You can have it on your phone, and you can chat. So for that, hopefully we'll be able to do also soon, and that is to create GPTs. So at least the students can chat with it orally and not just writing. That's what my students do. And to be honest, it became so good, even in Hebrew, because as I was saying, I don't have VIP in Hebrew, and the students are just talking to the chatbot as somebody from it's a Hebrew speaker. And even in Hebrew, it's actually doing quite a good job, which is not a language that is very popular, as we know, that is very trained. So that's an excellent question. And the answer is yes. That's actually very, very good use for that. I tell them, by the way, so with the agent, I tell them to prepare with the agent to practice with it before exams. So the agent know what kind of material they will have in the exam. So I tell them, okay, it will give you different types of exercises similar to what you're going to have in the exam. It's a good way to practice if it's a written exam. Also for the oral exam, you can practice it, tell it, for example, okay, you're two friends that are meeting in the park, and you have to talk to each other about your vacation. And that will interact orally with the agent. Another thing that is true is that for now, while students are using AI, we know for different things, they're not as inclined to use it so fast, except the good student. The good student will always be the first one to do that. But as a whole, I cannot say that the big majority of the students were using it to prepare for the exam. So that will, but I'm quite sure that soon they will be. And if we give them the right tools, for example, something that they were not going to have to struggle with, prompting for half an hour until getting into a good interaction with the chatbot. If we give them an agent that is already very, very familiarized with the exam, and for sure to work with them the right way, I'm sure they will be much more inclined to do so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Shai, following up, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Following up on Cecilia's question, so the AI would be able to correct the students, let's say pronunciation, for instance. Can the AI produce orally? I mean, orally also. All right, it's not only writing, but I mean, interact orally, and the AI agent would be able to say, I mean, you need to correct this and that in terms of pronunciation and grammar, etc., at an oral level.
Exactly. Yes. So you can. Yes, for sure. We will. So I'll do another parenthesis with the VR experiences that we will have, and that is we will have an interface that the backend will give us all the wrong pronunciation of the students. So the student is just talking, but the AI is registering and saying, okay, here's what you need to correct in your pronunciation, here's what you need to correct in your grammar, here's what you need to correct in the cultural context, etc. So the AI can definitely do that. It's true that it's getting better and better. So if we're talking about 2 years ago, maybe it didn't do such a great job, but now, especially for languages that are very, very used. So for example, it's not going to be able to do a great job in Swahili, but it will do a great job in Spanish and in English, of course. So it will, from that perspective, it's, but again, that will be ChatGPT, more work for ChatGPT, and hopefully in Copilot, it's going to be available soon. I know that, for example, now Copilot, as you can see, it has like ChatGPT 5, but I'm not sure about the oral capabilities of this tool. Copilot is a little bit behind, but it's getting there. It's getting there quite fast. So we still have hope. Actually, one thing in Copilot that they recently add, you remember if we talked last session, we talked about Notebook LM of Google. So now Copilot has the similar thing. They just updated and they added a notebook. So it's a similar like Notebook LM. You add to it information, knowledge, like PDFs, research, your notes, and then you can create different things on that knowledge. You can create like a podcast, you can create like a chat with it, etc. So from that perspective, they're getting better. I hope that they will also be able to do the oral part. But for now, the oral part stays in the VR in the lab and in GPTs.
Thank you.
Sure. And hopefully it will be able to, I mean, we know already, for example, the deep fake, something that we talked about normally in a bad context. For example, deep fake of a person, of a figure, of a political figure, and calling you as somebody as a political figure and trying to persuade you to do something. We can create deep fakes of other figures that are not political, something like literary figure from the past. So for example, I was mentioning in one exercise I was doing is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So the students were interacting with the figure on a chatbot. What we can do also not now, but soon enough, is also it will imitate the voice of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and they will be able to connect and talk to it. So there's a lot of different possibilities now. About the ethics of it, that's something else, but at least give the students some sort of experience, because that's what you're trying to do here, no? I think give them an experience that will help them build their cultural baggage. Good question. More, if any other doubt, suggestions? Also, we're very happy for suggestions. For example, say if you want to have, hey, I have an idea to create this or that. Please, let us know. We'll be very happy to start looking into those different things. And another tool, while you think about it, is Black Box. So Black Box, all those tools are improving. It's incredible. I remember when I first used Zapier and I first used the Black Box. So this is the Zapier that they have workflow, and you can create and keep adding steps and that are connecting, for example, to Google Sheets, Google Slides. And so all those tools are getting better and better in order to create better possibilities. And it's very recommended to look at different tools. All of them, at least they have a free version. And then, of course, if you want to have something pro, then you need to pay for it. But all of the tools have a free version, except some, but we don't mention it here. Any other question, remark?
Another question, Shai, your agent Meili, I mean, is it already available for anybody? I mean, once it's, you know, in the website, so to speak, I mean, it's available, anybody can use it, or can you restrict, you know, its circulation, so to speak, in the web?
That's also a good question. So I can restrict it into when you publish it, it tells you, for example, here, now I do share, right? So it tells you, do you want anyone in your organization? Do you want specific users in your organization, or only you? Only you can see it.
Got it.
Now, if it's anyone in the organization, that means that everybody from the University of Miami can look at a list of agents and see, oh, maybe that sounds interesting. I can maybe use it. I already pasted the link to it in the chat here in Zoom. Soon we'll see that everything works fine together with the updated version of the web. Then we'll release it in a message to the department. But for now, it's you can try it actually. Try to press the link in the chat bot in the chat here in Zoom. See if it gets somewhere, and if it does, try to help you, for example, to prompt something about your class, or ask about something that the lab can do.
Thank you.
Actually, I would, if it does work, then please let me know. If it works okay. And if you see any kind of difficulties, or also it has to be, as I was saying to my students also, it has to be a constant conversation, because many times they use something and it doesn't work, right? Or it has like a bug in it. Just let us know. It's very important, because the technology, and it has a lot of different things that, you know, might work better if we know about them. So as I was saying, this is the step-by-step. We can access the GPT builder, or in this case, the Copilot builder, define the agent, ask it to prompt a good toning and DNA, and then just put it over there, add knowledge, upload resources. That's probably the most important. Upload your syllabus, upload your style guide, the reading list, the analysis. Of course, it can be also, it's very, very good for content classes. Test it. Now, testing and refining, this is like the training. So as you know, any kind of LLM is trained. And when you create an agent, it's very important to train it, because then, you know, do as a student, ask all kind of questions, see what happens. And if you need to change it, just tell it, add to your knowledge or add to your instruction to do this and that. And it will automatically, you as the editor, it will, if you write it in the prompt bot, if the prompt in the chat bot, it will automatically put it in the instruction. You can also tell it, add to your memory not to talk about this, and you just avoid talking about that. So you can train it, refining it as you go. So that was referring to the Meili, the coach. It can have like a syllabus coach. As you know, as I was telling you about the GPTs, you can enter it. Everybody can enter it from the OpenAI ChatGPT account and see all kind of GPTs. Look at it. It's actually quite nice. What else we didn't mention yet? So remember to train it. If it's a comparative literature, cultural course, related to pedagogy, to language. And, oh yes, maybe that is important before we finish. Best practices and for academic agent. So what to do and what to avoid. Be very, very clear and specific. That is something that we tend to forget, because we say it's a robot, it knows everything, and maybe I can just write what I think. No, we have to be very clear about it. It's any kind of instruction has to be very limited and well thought of. That's why I was saying about using another chatbot, using it to help you create a very good specific instruction for the agent. Always include examples and what kind of outputs you wish for the students to have. And that's while you train it, you can see the outputs. So then look at it. Boundaries. So for example, the citation, if you like a different one type of citation, make sure to mention it. Only APA, only MLA, whatever. Just and then it will just fixate on that citation. Update it regularly. So if you need something to change, remember that's something actually that happens. For example, from a course that I had in the spring 2024, and then course that I have spring 2025, in the beginning I forgot to update it and to add the material that I added to the syllabus, and then I didn't realize, forgot like, hey, but why it doesn't work with that, why it doesn't reach to that knowledge? So make sure you update it from one course to another. So testing it, and always encourage critical thinking while students are using it over simple answers. And what to avoid? So yes, do not overload it with a lot of different functions. You know, just like when you want the best heart surgeon will be somebody who's very specified with heart surgery and not anything else. So do not avoid neglecting specifying limitation. It will obviously not going to replace human judgment. And if you want to add, I personally don't have that, but if you want to add this academic integrity concerns, that I think is most likely for like UM Health. It's for places that you know actually have privacy concern. In my case, for example, the work that we do with it, it's nothing personal. There's no private information. There's no need for private information. So what we do it is very off, not really needed, and of any kind of concerns. And as I was saying, you want to also limit it to the least amount of information and not give it too much technical jargon, so the students will understand and be able to talk to it freely. And yeah, I think that's good. So if everybody's, you're ready to build your agent, we hope that you do so and share with us the result. In the near future, hopefully in the spring 2026, we will have a list of agents. So everybody who builds a new agent, will be able to put it on the web page, and then to have like a list of agents that the students can access, or other faculty can access, in order to keep this usage of AI, good usage of AI, keep it going in the department. Any last questions, suggestions? Feel free. And if not, then you know our email. You can just send us an email, and we'll be here and try to answer it the best way we can. So thank you very much for participating in the second session. Next session, next month, we will have Benjamin talking about automation, and will show us a little bit of how to automate, for example, from a spreadsheet or Excel into sending an email automatically, and those kind of different things. We will probably have a wider conversation about automation in general as something that we can use in order to, in the time and age that we have of lack of time, maybe we can think about different types of automation that can help us within MLL limitation. So thank you, and see you next month.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shai.
Thank you.